Silence. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a big welcome to more coverage from the Solidarity E-Race here, courtesy of our incredible live streaming from EFX and the Solidarity E-Race. Myself, Greg Maloney, and Sasha Martinengo joining you here this evening. Sash, how awesome has these last 5 days been, bud?
I tell you, Greg, the pursuit of that ultimate perfect lap is just becoming more and more exciting. The amount of laps people are going out there and doing. I don't even think any of these races celebrated Easter yesterday.
No, they were all online, bud.
Listen, I think
the Easter lights in the background.
I've got some Easter lights in the background, and I think safety first, Greg. Here we go. There's my sanitizer.
That's the way to do it, bud.
And I've got the vuvuzelas going outside because it's 7 o'clock in recognition of all of our national health workers. So you know what? It's time to go racing, baby.
Yeah, it's so cool. I've got to say, I can't believe what's kind of transpired. And there you go, a little bit of sanitization from my side as well. What's transpired over the last 5 days? I mean, literally, in the last 5 days, you were talking about the amount of laps done. These guys that have been racing with us, and there's 136 of them now, Sash. They've done 18,256 laps in 3,427 qualifying sessions, which means they have completed 83,000 kilometers. That means they've gone around the world twice in less than 5 days.
You know what's so amazing about this, Greg? And all it's cost them is a little bit of outlay in terms of getting their setup and their computer screens and that kind of stuff, and a fiber line. They haven't had to pay for petrol, they haven't had to pay for tires, and they haven't had to pay for any repairs going into the barriers. And it's damn exciting. I didn't think I'd get excited too much about this, Greg, but I must tell you, yesterday I watched a bit of the MotoGP I-Race that they had. And it was amazing to see the actual riders' emotions when something actually went wrong, when somebody bumped somebody else or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what I found quite amazing. So I think what we're anticipating here over the next 54 hours is going to be remarkable. It's really, really taken off brilliantly, and well done to everyone involved.
No, it has. And a massive thanks, of course, to Africa Data Science Corporation, Pure Storage, and NEC for coming on board as part of the sponsorship. Now, we're going to be chatting to a couple of guys here this evening with us. We're hoping to get hold of Michael van Roy, and he is battling a little bit to get onto our feed. But as soon as we get him, we'll bring him in. But it gives us a great opportunity to bring in someone that's right in the mix as we speak. And if I can ask Brendan to pick up on some of the action that's happening on screen as we speak, we're going to catch up with Werner Joubert from TGN Racing Simulators. Now, Werner is sitting at home. You can see him down in 13th place at the moment. He hasn't gone out on track just yet. He's waiting for us to come across to him. But the cool thing with that is he's sitting in a TGN Racing Simulator. Now, the reason we're going to Werner Joubert tonight is he has also jumped in, Sash, as one of our prize sponsors, and is going to be giving the best actual racing driver. So in other words, a guy who spends his time in a racing car more than on a game, one of these frames that you can see in shot right now that he's busy piloting.
Wow, that is incredible, Werner. And I must tell you, I've seen Werner's stuff in action as well, and been on 1 or 2 of them. It's amazing stuff. So there he is. He's, as you say, sitting in 13th. He's going out now. I mean, those are the live pictures. It sounds weird to say it, but those are the live pictures of people going around Kyalami.
Indeed, and that's him in his simulator right now. You can see he's got the one that he prefers, and he spoke to us earlier on, that he's sitting in right now. But he's actually got a full force feedback and race simulator just on the right-hand side of the shot that you can see that we're picking up on him. Van, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic stuff. All right, well, you're on board at the moment, so we're going to let you just sort of talk us through while you're trying to get a hot lap in here. And maybe just take us through a little bit of the information about the TGN Racing Simulators.
Sure. What's going to say? I mean, we do racing simulators. We build high-end simulators. We sell frames, and we also do events for corporates and companies and functions and whatnot.
I believe you've been doing this.
Listen, carry on, Greg.
No, go, Sash. You go.
Werner, I mean, there you are sitting in the car. We're busy talking to you as though like maybe we're your pit crew. You know, usually if you're someone like Kimi Räikkönen, you'd say, just shut up and leave me alone. But oh, there we go, running a little bit wide. Does it put you off when somebody's talking to you? And now you're just going to stop?
No, it's just a new session. So just waiting for the new session to start.
Well, Van, while that new session is starting, as I said, you've been involved with this racing simulator business now for almost 10 years. And like kind of what Sasha and I have done, you've turned your passion into a way of bringing in the income and keeping the wolves up.
That's correct.
Well, there we go. Typical racing driver.
Yeah, exactly, Sam.
I need to get the focus right here as well.
Werner, listen, while you're on the track there, and I know you're trying to put in laps, about these simulators, the system that you've got there and you generously going to give to a actual racing driver, it's just the frame. So then there afterwards, the people have to get the rest of the hardware. Is that right?
Yeah, then they can add on their own hardware. I mean, if they got hardware, they can add it. Otherwise, we can also supply them with the hardware. I mean, steering wheels is one of those things. You can start off with a basic one for like 3,000 Rand. And then you'll see like Michael van Rooyen's system. We actually built his system for him. He's got a steering wheel. That the steering wheel alone is 20 grand. The pedals is another 20 grand. And then the actual wheel that comes off is another 15 grand. So it can get very expensive very quickly.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it does help. Like, I mean,
Werner, in terms of processing power, I mean, what kind of a desktop do you have to have? I mean, do you need like a super gaming computer, or could you run a normal desktop?
Yeah, look, the thing is, that's also depends. I mean, you can actually run this game. You have to have a decent system to run this title, but you can run it with a lower system, but just put the settings down to a lower configuration. Like, I mean, this system here I'm using is overkill. This system alone is like $45,000, but it can run anything on 3 screens, because 3 screens is basically 3 times the graphics.
Yes.
So with that kind of setups, you have to have a better system, a stronger system, and we'll be capable of running 3 screens at that high resolutions.
You've become a professional racing simulating driver for the last 6 years, Van. Take us through some of the experiences you had. Are we on song with what we're doing here in the Solidarity E-Race? Do you think we're hitting the right target audience and creating a bit of hype around the event?
No, just to correct you, I was a pro sim racer 6 years ago, so I've lost a bit of my touch. I'm not as fast as I used to be. But the thing is that I love about this is bringing sim races and real races together, and local guys.
Yes.
And I mean, that for me is fantastic, just to show the guys like the local sim racers are just as good as a race car driver, which is crazy to say, but they are actually on par with the race car drivers.
It's quite amazing that you talk of the sim drivers, and we know that in most of the categories now around the world, there's a tremendous amount of focus on the simulation drivers. Those are very, very high-tech setups. But, a lot of other racing drivers much prefer to hone their skill on track as opposed to on simulators. This now all of a sudden is showing that with the advancement of technology, the gap between being on track and in a simulator is not that bad, depending on how much money you got to spend.
Yeah, look, I mean, the thing is as well, like, for instance, what's his name? Ulrich. He doesn't have a chair or a setup, and he's one of the 5 best sim racers in the country. And he's just racing with his steering wheel attached to his desk. And I mean, that's the thing. If you learn your craft on your device that you're using, you can get fantastic results. So it doesn't matter if you've got a 250,000 Rand system or you've got a steering wheel attached to the desk. If you spend enough time there, you're going to learn it and you're going to get good very, very quickly. Well, not quickly, but I mean, it's going to take some time.
Van, I love the fact that watching you in the car, you're taking this very seriously. You've got the racing cap on, you've got the racing gloves on, and in your frame, you've also got a cup holder holding a really cool can of Monster which is going to help you get through it, eh? Very important to keep, hydrated at all times.
All the time.
Well, listen, I think the reason he's got that the monster is because there's an alcohol ban.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's actually a beer caddy. I mean, what the hell?
Van, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to ask you to sort of concentrate on what you're doing there and maybe get a couple of hot laps in. We've got a couple of other guests that are going to be joining us. Hopefully we can get Michael van Rooyen in there too and try and get down into that 140 bracket. That's where you need to be.
That's my aim.
Yeah, good luck,
Awesome.
Bernard. And listen, thanks for your contribution and your sponsorship as well. And good luck.
100%. Thank you guys so much, eh?
So, Stash, there you have it. I mean, look at that setup, but it's just a mind-blowing setup. I mean, you're spending like almost $250,000 to get a system like that, and we're giving away the frame to start that process to one of our lucky racing drivers, the man or lady. We don't have any ladies just yet, I don't think, but the man who wins and becomes the top actual racing driver will get himself a 12,000 Rand TGN racing simulator frame.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's just wonderful that people have come on board in the time where I think everybody needs a little bit of help, and you got these professionals who will be able to set you up in the right way and get you started. You know, a lot of people might have, you know, a gaming machine and a steering wheel, but now all of a sudden they'll have the three, you know, the space for the 3 screens and the whole setup to make it happen. It's a terrific price. I'm considering going to try and get my MSA driver's license.
Well, listen, you speak about MSA, and I mean, we can run some of the race footage in the background while these guys are we talking, and before we go to our second guest for tonight. But I got a phone call which I've passed on to the guys from Supercar Lifestyle and our team behind the scenes. Apparently, there is interest already being shown by Motorsport South Africa and from the FIA as well in terms of setting something up on a national championship basis for this kind of racing. And for somebody from South Africa to represent us at the FIA World Cup of e-racing.
You know what? It's in motion, Greg, and it's definitely going to happen. I'm glad that MSA hopefully are going to get involved. We have to get involved. We've seen it, and we mentioned it the other night. Race of Champions have had e-races in there for the last couple of years. It is a huge sport. Well, if you call it a sport, but it is a huge activity, and there's a tremendous amount of fun. And it takes a tremendous amount of skill because the technology has changed so much. It looks quite easy looking at these graphics. You sit and say, oh, yeah, that could be quite easy. But once you're in one of these simulators trying to get those times, it is pretty daunting.
And you can look at the back and forth that happens at the moment on our WhatsApp group that we've set up for the drivers, and the amount of feedback that they're asking between actual racing drivers and gamers to try and set themselves up. I mean, at this stage, we've got a gamer leading this session on a 140.692 with Jason Absmeyer, and Lorenzo Gotteri, our initial pace setter from the word go, sitting in second place, half a second off him there. Julian Familiaris, another racing driver, sitting in third, ahead of Bashir Jadwat, who's in fourth in this session and waiting in the sidelines to have a chat to us.
Yeah, and it's incredible how these times all of a sudden are coming down, because Bashir was leading in the session a little earlier. All of a sudden he's a second off the pace, and you go, oh, okay, it's just a game. You try and find that it is extremely difficult, and it takes a tremendous amount of concentration.
Yeah, it's not easy. But Bashir is waiting in the sidelines, as I said. We're actually going to go on board with him. He's decided to go out there, looks like in the McLaren, if I'm not mistaken. So, no, he's in the Audi. I beg your pardon, he's on with the Audi this time. Bashir, a big welcome to you, buddy. At this stage, if I go across to our current standings, you were second last night. You've dropped down to fifth with a 1 minute 40.524. So some work to do tonight, right?
Evening, guys. Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do tonight, unfortunately, so it's not going to be an early one for me. I feel like I'm on the limit, though, so I don't know how much more I'm unable to find. But yeah, let's see.
Oh my word! Okay, I mean, his volume. Yeah, I mean, he's got a full VR headset on him. We're struggling a little bit with his audio. We are being able to pick him up, so we'll relay anything that comes to him. Bashir, this is Sasha here. I hope you can hear me. They say accountants usually are boring. This definitely takes that myth out of the program.
I'm glad that I can bust some myths there. Yeah, this has been a passion of mine for many a year now. I think I've been in it now for more than a decade. Yeah, so every free minute that I have, I'm usually in my rig doing some laps here or there.
I mean, just tell us some of the highlights you've had, because you've been doing this for a long time, you know, and it is a massive passion to you. I mean, do you get psyched up? Do you get yourself really motivated, you know, like in a bit of a frenzy when you go on to do some of these races?
Oh, amazingly. So the nerves that build up, I mean, I'm pretty sure I haven't had any real experience, but I can imagine that it's very similar to a real driver at the start of their race. The nerves build up, you know, and before the light goes green, I mean, you get cotton mouth. It's quite interesting. It's quite exciting.
Bashir, it's Greg here. Just to give you an indication, I see you run under the AKA of Ghost Bash. Where did that come from?
Yeah. So I was previously in a team called Ghostworks, still somewhat in the background there. We're also a South African team, just a bunch of guys that you know, do this as a hobby. So yeah, it's just stuck because I've used it everywhere.
Bashir,
it's kind of like F1 sachet.
Yeah. Bashir, I mean, you've been doing this a long time in a simulator. Have you never ever gotten the urge, the bug to get yourself okay, I'm not going to say an Audi R8 like this, but just a vehicle to go, whoa, you had a big crash there. Just a vehicle to maybe go and actually do some physical racing?
I've actually got an RS3 that I planned on doing some track days with, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But before this, the opportunity never really came up where I could actually go, you know, real racing or even track days for that matter. So this was always the opportunity, or the, what can I say, the venue that I could explore the passion that I have for racing. I mean, I've been a Formula One fan since the 80s. I still remember watching it with my dad in the early days on a black and white TV, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's been a passion that's been with me for pretty much the entirety of my life.
So you're definitely talking to the right person then, that's no doubt about it.
For
Bash,
sure.
I can see that you've got a really cool setup there as well with that virtual headset, and looking at the steering wheel that you're working with as well. We just chatted to Vanna Joubert from TGN Racing Simulators, and a question that's come through on one of the pages that we are going live on is from Mohammed Basha, saying, is there a local company that deals with the high-end racing pedals and racing steering wheels that you might be using?
Currently, there's no South African company that brings in Fanatec, which is what I'm using currently. And I've got a set of Heusinkveld pedals, which I had to import myself. So the high-end stuff, unfortunately, you're going to have to import yourself, which is almost double the price at the end of the day of what it would be if you had to get it here. So it is a costly exercise, but you get what you pay for. Let's put it that way. They make a massive difference, not in terms of speed. Overall speed, I think people do pretty much faster times with the basic wheels that you get, the Logitechs and the Thrustmasters. But in terms of feedback, consistency, I would say, and also general immersion, to feel the force feedback on a direct drive wheel compared to a regular wheel, you can't even compare the two. So I don't think people should expect, you know, high-end stuff to give them lap times. It doesn't, but it does increase the immersion 100-fold.
Well, listen, I think you need Greg and I as your team managers, because while we were chatting to you, you managed to jump up the leaderboard and improve your time by about 0.8 of a second. So listen, if you need us for, you know, some advice, there's an accountant. We're not very expensive, but you know what? It's going to cost a bit.
Oh, it'll be a pleasure. It'll be a pleasure to have you guys.
Bash, just before you go, a question that came up last night, I actually wanted to fire it at Michael van Rooyen as well as you. And a lot of guys are sort of sitting there in the sidelines and wanting to participate. There's still an opportunity to participate, guys. Remember, you've got until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning to still get your hot laps in to make the top 100. So if anybody out there hasn't entered yet, get onto solidarityerace.co.za, pay the $100, download the game, get onto the system, and start putting those laps in overnight. Because 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, it all shuts down. But Bash, the question I want to ask is, do you think anybody in the gaming world or in the racing world are currently sandbagging ever so slightly and waiting for the big race before they put in the very hot laps?
I think tonight you're going to see no sandbags. I'm pretty sure the guys were sandbagging up until this morning. But I think from today you're going to see the real quick times. I mean, some of them have already shown their hand. But I think there's a 39 in there from someone. I think there's a 39 coming.
I've got a feeling, Greg, that Bashir is the man who's going to be looking at that 39. That's for sure.
Yeah, no. I'm at my limit, unfortunately.
Bashir, thank you so much for joining us, but we really do appreciate it. We'll let you concentrate on the last part of this session and into the next session as we continue our live coverage here from Solidarity E-Race.
Thanks.
It's a massive thanks there to ATK and to Bashir Jadwat for joining us. The Ghost Bash will be in the final, hopefully, on Wednesday night.
Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate the time.
Awesome. I mean, listen, the audio was a little bit softer. Hopefully everyone managed to hear that properly, Greg. But you know, he seems so calm. Have you ever used a virtual headset?
Yeah, it's very difficult, to get used to that whole. Yeah, it actually throws you out completely, and your balance. You can't stay in it for too long either, because it kind of messes with your brain a bit as well.
If you've got a brain. So with me, I had no problem. It's just I wasn't very coordinated. but it's just amazing just to see the different kinds of setup. Look at his setup compared to what Werner's setup is. Hopefully we'll be able to get Michael van Rooyen and maybe see his setup. And as Werner said, there are other guys who just have their steering wheel on their table, and that's how they race. So it's quite extraordinary. It comes down to pure concentration and practice.
Well, I'm going to run through the current list of drivers that was in that session as it comes to a close there, Sash, just to quickly go through it. Calvin van der Linde has just joined us via ILEB as well, just to give you an indication. So a big welcome to Calvin. He, unfortunately, is not available here in South Africa to be part of this. So we only opened it up to people that are sitting in South Africa. So if I've just lost that timing mode now because I was going to run through it. But we'll wait for the new one to come back up on again. But we had about 20-odd drivers up there as well participating. Jason Absmeyer so far has set the pace with a 140.692. Then Bashir is up to second, as you said there, Sash, with a 140.854, I think it is. Lorenzo Gatteri is there in third, first of the actual races as opposed to gamers. Then we've got Heineke there in fourth, ahead of Julian Familiaris, another of the actual races as opposed to gamers. Then we run through Skuman, Whiting, Peters, Joubert, Vanna Joubert up to ninth. That's good for him for TGN Racing. Then we've got Michael van Rooyen is actually out there, and he's just put in a 142.6. He's in 11th place. We then got Kruger, Geldenhuys, Daly, Blanche, Clark, Colin Hasty. Oh, wow. How far back is he? 145. Well, he's coming down. The times are coming down, eh?
Listen,
Colin's found something special.
Exactly. Listen, early on he was about 12 seconds off the pace, but maybe he was just warming up the tires. But, you know, and it's 4.7 seconds. And the thing about this, when you're on these simulators and playing these games, is that you're doing these times, and you're going, why can't I go any faster? Why am I 4 seconds off the pace? Where are they making it up? It's just, it boggles the mind, and it plays many, many tricks on you. And you just got to try and work out corner for corner of what you need to do. There's a beautiful number 9 goes out. Whoa.
That's lovely, that Porsche, hey? So there's Colin Hasty right now making his way out. Yeah, making his way out. No, that's Heineke. That's Chris Heineke. Chris Heineke going out there now. But just behind Heineke is Chris Hoy, another racing driver. Absmeyer is down into 17th. Look out for Human. There goes Hasty.
Yeah,
that's
just jumped
Hasty
up to ninth place. And he's just jumped up to 9. So, yeah.
Probably could use the 9th car out of the pit.
Oh, sorry. All right, so new session.
Yeah, a new session there for him. Just to give you an indication as well, Sash, you were just mentioning the fact that they're going to get quicker and quicker. And a lot of guys were kind of contemplating whether they should be in a busy session like this of 24 cars, or should they go into one of the other servers and maybe find a couple of clean laps and easier time out there. But chatting to the gamers, they say that similar to what happens on a racetrack, the more cars that are out on track, the more rubber gets put down on the surface, and that's, of course, not real rubber, but artificial rubber that we're talking about, but it gives them more traction. So to be in a busy session of 24 cars is not a bad idea.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think there are so many similarities between what we are watching here as a simulator race game and the actual real deal, in the sense of that artificially there is more rubber going down on the circuit, so it does give you more grip. So going out there on your own, you might sit there and say, well, I don't have to worry about getting past traffic or back markers or slower cars. However, you might not have the grip, and it might be a disadvantage going out on your own. As I think it's one of the Bentleys have spun there.
It looks like
the bowl.
Yeah. Richard Daly's got it up there. Yeah, he's got it out of shape at the bottom, unfortunately. Out of the S's, gets back on track. Now, that's another thing that the racing drivers that are involved in the sim racing have said to us. The quicker I think it's actually an Aston. Or no, it might be.
Aston,
I don't know.
yes.
It is. It's a Bentley. Beg your pardon. You were spot on, Tash. Why would I even contemplate arguing with Sasha Martinengo? Not a chance. He knows his cars better than I do, especially in this level. But the guys were saying that if you do make a mistake like this, it is crucial to get back on track as quickly as you can so that you don't get given that 1 lap penalty for not regaining the circuit in time.
Yes, no, exactly. I mean, there are certain rules, for maybe people who are just tuning in for the first time watching this, sit and say, well, why don't you just cut the chicane, and why don't you just do this and do that? You can't. It's just like normal racing. You do have track limits. You do have rules and regulations. You will get penalized if you run off the circuit, etc. The only advantage, or huge advantage, that you have here is if you crash into the wall, you don't sustain any damage, and you can just basically get back on the track.
Another big advantage, of course, Tash, is that the racing steward becomes an artificial guy as well. And if you do transgress the rules at any point, he will actually contact you via your sim racing handle and warn you, and then, of course, imply the agreed to penalties as per the rules for each of these races. So if you do start bumping and barging too much, you might be given a black flag via your artificial sim, and a message gets sent to you. And then if you transgress again, then they just pull you from the race and disqualify you.
And also the great thing about it is there's no clerk of the course in terms of a real person. You can just go and sit there and say, no, but I did this. You sit and say, no. AI, artificial intelligence, sat there and said, you transgress the rules, you're out, baby, go. That's what they should do in real racing.
Out of there. Exactly. The other cool thing with this, Sash, which I picked up on when I did the commentary for our little promo video that we put out on YouTube over the last 2 days, is watch how quick the actual timing system is. It literally